Operation Brightside, an enforcement effort described as a warrant sweep that identified, apprehended, and initiated prosecution against a number of violent offenders in the Columbia metropolitan area.
I'm almost speechless, gang. Welcome into Wake Up, Missouri. This is a Christmas present ahead of Christmas. Thank goodness for so many agencies getting together and sending a clear message with 32 felony arrests, 19 federal indictments, 21 felony state warrants. Thank you, U.S. Attorney for the Western District,
and come
Matthew
on,
Price.
Points for the name, Operation
Brightside.
Whoever named the operation needs a raise.
Brilliant. We're going to talk with Brian Hauswirth at 7:08 about this and break it down a little bit more. He's been reporting on it on the Eagle this morning. And for those of you who are in Springfield, you know that he made the comment during the presser yesterday that there is a similar VCAT. That VCAT stands for Violent Crime Abatement Team. And, boy, a whole bunch of agencies. I'm Randy Tobler, Stephanie Bell, John Marsh, and Drake Whitman. And, John, boy, it seems like every law enforcement agency known to man, DEA, FBI, the federal marshals, of course, CPD.
ATF.
Yes, that's right. ATF, the Boone County Sheriff. Man, everyone's been in on this, and apparently it's been going on even before Moon Choi ruffled the feathers a little bit and stirred things up. And later on, Attorney Price talked about that as well. I think this is just unbelievably fantastic news. And for those of you who are criminally inclined, let me know if this doesn't ripple through your community, like gossip in a small town. And the word's out that they've got your number and they're coming after you, and they mean business.
I thought the interesting part of the whole story was we report so much on, drug swings and drug busts and the Central Missouri Drug Task Force and the Springfield Area Drug Task Force. This was one that targeted illegal guns. The vast majority of it.
Majority.
And it wasn't an immugration thing either.
No,
that was a presumption very early on. Oh, it's an ice sweep.
Yeah, no immigration, none of that going on.
But I mean, it makes sense with all of the shootings that have been happening in mid-Missouri as of late. And how many times do we hear, oh, there was a shooting, this person should have never had a gun?
Mm-hmm. It's good to see. I mean, and I have gotten a tentative agreement with Chief Jill Schluty to be on next Tuesday. It's going to take a while. As she said in the presser during her remarks, it's going to take, doesn't have all the information yet on there was just a lot of activity going on. She did make the comment that no one was injured, which is good. And a lot for all of you folks that might be listening that were actually on, boots on the ground and billy clubs and what other kind of weapons were being displayed. Thank you for your work, for your heavy work. That's great. And you're hoping that this kind of news does ripple through the would-be criminal community. And remember, we've talked about this before. Where are the prosecutors? Where is the word getting out that we mean business? we're spread the word among those of you who think you might want to do some tomfoolery. Don't mess with us. We're here. This is good. This is good.
Yeah, I actually have a special report that said that the police found out about these guys because they double parked. And a couple of them, drank and walked home from downtown.
Open containers.
Open containers.
Unlike Drake that wants to sell them short as to their ability to multitask and get double parking while they're doing the VCAT, getting illegal guns and who knows what else, drugs and what else. I think that I would say that this just proves that they can enforce all laws across the spectrum of law enforcement because they're very multi-talented and deeply skilled professionals.
Yeah, I just think it's amazing.
Not an either or. Yeah.
They were able to get them on double parking and find all those guns.
And I hear they got a couple of minors in possession, too, during the sweep. I hope so.
I know. They actually searched me.
Well, we don't want any empty beds in the jail,
No, as long as they can take the jaywalkers off of Broadway in downtown Columbia, then they'll have something.
All right. Touche, young Drake. 573-874-9390. If that doesn't really warm your cockles this morning as we're going to be heading into a little bit of a cold front tonight. The low is going to be 32. High still pretty balmy today, but then tonight it takes a little swoon into the low 30s.
And the extended forecast looks just cold.
Yeah.
And some precip down the road as well.
Oh, man, can we get some clear? And we got to have Tony Lupo to do his clear and cold dance, not the
His
wet
dance,
and cold dance.
Or the foggy and cold dance.
Yeah, I mean, any form of wetness, let's not have. We just want some clarity. What are you doing, Drake? Drake's walking around. What are you doing walking around with your...
It's the rain dance,
oh,
right?
Oh, you're doing your rain dance.
Or
I thought you were doing
clear
some
weather dance.
Thought it was some
He had
kind
an
of
open container in the
Yeah, I
control
wasn't
room.
sure. I thought maybe it was an Indian chief dance ahead of the... the Chiefs playing the Cowboys on Thursday, and Trey Smith is apparently out. He has a high and low ankle sprain.
I'm so excited
Did
for
you
that
see
game.
that? I didn't realize that he has like only one penalty in like 500 snaps. He's an offensive guard. That's pretty amazing, right? I mean,
Compared to last year, yeah.
well, holding penalties kill us. I mean, they kill every team. You know, you make a great play, and you always cringe. I feel like the dog that gets slapped. You know, it's like, okay, I'm waiting for the flag. It was just a 20-yard run. Oh, holding. You know, instead of 20 yards forward, you're 35. You know, it's a net loss of 35-yard loss, really. You know, because you lose 15 on it too.
It all evens out in like the last play of the game when there's phony DPI. But that was last year. The new Chiefs.
Yeah, you lose 10, not 15.
Yeah.
All right. And some other good news about former Mizzou stars that we didn't get to talk about on yesterday's program. We've got, I found some, you'll love this, Stephanie. I found some more dirt on Afton Bain. Did we hear the outcome of that election, by the way?
It's in December.
Well, Shannon said she voted yesterday.
Yeah.
It's early voting. See, I don't want to acknowledge that. Mm-hmm. It's a mental thing. I just don't want to acknowledge that. To me, voting should be on voting day. No hope? No hope?
Cool. I need to look up the exact date, but it's in the first part of December.
Yeah. Oh, this woman is absolutely unhinged, this Afton Bain. She is unhinged. We also have the Department of War posting on their Facebook feed that they're investigating Senator Mark Kelly. And I don't understand the difference between retired and the others are not. He's retired, but the others are inactive, John. There was some kind of a designation there. I don't know. Some are retired.
Well, that means he served at least 20 years in uniform and could retire with full benefits and all, as opposed to somebody who resigns their commission or an enlistment and they're just, back on the street.
Okay, so they just get their pay while they're there, and then no long. Do they get VA benefits if they quit before 20? Okay, but
Sure,
they don't
they're
get any kind of
honorably.
No kind of money in their bank after that. Okay. Well, they're talking about maybe depending on. I assume it's about that video. I don't know if there's other things they're investigating, but about that video, and maybe bringing him back into active service to face court-martial. Really?
That's what they said.
Yeah, I mean, wow, is this just a little bit of some political swagger? They announced Monday they've opened a formal review into allegations of misconduct. He's a retired Navy captain, as we know,
you never planned
a soldier, right? And
former astronaut.
Former astronaut. Okay, the department cited federal statutes, including 18 U.S.C. number 2387, section 2387, which prohibits attempts to undermine the loyalty, morale, or discipline of U.S. forces. Could that video, wouldn't that fit that definition of undermining the loyalty, morale? Certainly the morale, maybe the discipline?
That's what the Trump administration is saying.
And what they're saying is he came back and said, you're not going to intimidate me, DOJ, because I have every right to just remind people of what their right and duty is, to not follow illegal laws, right? I mean, and I guess that's a pretty solid argument, too. It's very interesting. The Department of War, the statement read, reminds all individuals that military retirees remain subject to the UCMJ, that's the Uniform Code of Military Justice, for applicable offenses. A service member's personal philosophy does not justify or excuse the disobedience of an otherwise lawful order. Well, Kelly and his attorneys are going to say, I didn't say for them to disobey a lawful order. I said disobey an unlawful order. I think they have a solid point. I think he's an idiot for doing what he did. I think he's disrespectful, and he's pot stirrer, and there was no need for that.
But just like, I mean, we saw the judge disciplined in St. Charles, John, over wearing an Elvis costume. And part of that is like decorum in the courtroom and like maintaining the integrity of the system. So lawyers and judges are held to higher standards, just like those in the military. And you have different rules. And I think he might have crossed them.
Well, and he is a retired military, person who's presumably still under the IRR, which is the individual ready reserve, which even though you don't have to drill as a reservist or anything, in time of war, they can call you back up and put you back on active duty.
Yeah, so you're in idle mode. You're
a reservist.
You're inactive, but you're still eligible for service.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. So going on, the statement said that if the review that they're doing on retired Navy Captain Mark Kelly, Senator Kelly, concludes that Kelly's comments constituted conduct, quote, to the prejudice of good order and discipline, or a violation of U.S. code, which prohibits encouraging disloyalty or insubordination, he could face recall to active duty for a formal court-martial. Well, is this just a lot of lawfare? I don't know. In other lawfare matters, they have thrown out what's the proper word? Dismissed the case against Comey, the indictment against Comey and Letitia James, which a former Trump attorney, Laura Halligan,
Lindsay Halligan,
who was appointed, never prosecuted a case in her life and was appointed the prosecutor. They're claiming, like Trump got one of his, I think it was the Mar-a-Lago thing, got something thrown out because of Jack Smith wasn't legally appointed. Remember, that was thrown out by a Florida judge. A judge has dismissed those indictments against her. So what is that? Good for the goose, good for the gander?
It's going up on appeal. And the cases were dismissed without prejudice, meaning they could be refiled, although there's a statute of limitations issue with a Comey case, which we're going to get into in the Daily DC Rundown.
I can't wait. All right, because I got to understand more about this. Why was she allegedly illegally appointed? Daily DC Rundown coming up.
It's Wake Up Missouri. Me personally, obviously, but it matters most because a message has to be sent that the President of the United States cannot use the Department of Justice to target his political enemies.
Time for the Daily DC Rundown with Stephanie.
That's rich, really, after what we've seen. Trump and Trump-adjacent folks being targeted. All right, yesterday the judge determined the prosecutor, Lindsay Halligan, who brought both cases against Letitia James and James Comey, was unlawfully appointed. She was appointed as interim U.S. attorney after another lawyer refused to file the case. If you recall, Comey's been charged with making false statements to Congress and obstruction from 2020 testimony. Letitia James has a problem with mortgage fraud, allegedly. Both of those cases were dismissed. The White House says they are going to appeal. They were dismissed without prejudice, which means they could be refiled. Now, Randy, you had asked what was the problem with her appointment. The U.S. District Judge said that there's a 120-day limit on interim appointments, and that limit expired during the previous prosecutor's tenure. So that means once that limit expires, that district judges, not AG Pam Bondi, had the authority to appoint the replacement. And so there's some question about whether she was lawfully appointed.
That process arose with the Alina Habba issue, right?
I
think so.
Yeah, there were several people who were on interim appointments. And so because she was the only prosecutor involved in those two cases, if she didn't have the authority to be in that position, the Trump administration's calling it kind of a technical ruling. Again, they're appealing. There is this statute of limitations issue. If you recall, I think Comey was indicted on like the last day before the statute of limitations ran. It's pretty clear that Letitia James the charges can be refiled without running into that issue. However, there is a federal statute that allows indictments dismissed after statute of limitations period runs to be refiled within a 6-month window. So I don't think Comey is out of the woods yet.
But he's closer. He can maybe see the light.
He's closer. And certainly in instances like this, with deadlines like that, you would expect the courts to move rather rapidly. Trump is going to visit China. He has accepted an invitation from Xi to visit China in April. Trump also invited Xi for a state visit following that meeting. Trump, I think, will be he was the last president to visit China in 2017. This is their first face-to-face since Trump's first term. They discussed things, I think they had a phone call, right? And they discussed things like Taiwan, Ukraine, also trade and U.S. soybeans. So this meeting is a really big deal coming up in April.
Optically a big deal.
You don't think it's a big deal?
I don't think it's ever a big deal. Xi is going to do what Xi wants to do. He'll say what he wants Trump to hear.
All right. Also, another topic, which I think some people think is a big deal and other people are like, it's a no-go, is this Russia-Ukraine deal. We're now hearing that we have a modified plan. Whatever we had yesterday, the 23-point Russia plan, arguably Russia plan is out the window. We've got a modified plan. Caroline Leavitt says they remain hopeful and optimistic. Certainly there was some consternation that original plan was too pro-Russia. As far as the modified plan goes, we have not yet heard whether Russia accepts the modified plan, although Leavitt is saying there are just a couple points of disagreement. We're also hearing that the healthcare proposal that Trump's been talking about is delayed. We've got a major problem ahead of the midterms. If we let those premiums expire, people's prices spike. But if we vote to extend Obamacare, we also have a problem with the voters.
What other good news do you have for us, Stephanie? I've got some fun with this Afton Bain. Stay tuned.
Has America been fair to Donald Trump? The people always know what's going on.
sorry. That was completely unnecessary.
Now, we're going to do a little quiz here, a little pre-Thanksgiving quiz. Thought we'd have a little fun with some little game here on the program. 573-874-9390. I'll play it again for you. Little sound here. Name this event. Here we go. Okay. Is that A, one of the suspects taken in the Operation Brightside with the VCAT that we talked about, the big multi-department coalition of various law enforcement agencies arresting people and dragging them out? Was that B, Stephanie Bell, when I want to continue to talk about negative stuff on a Feel Good Friday? Was it C, my 6-year-old granddaughter?
When I take her iPad away, that's what I thought it was.
No.
That's what my kids...
Sometimes you don't like it when I talk about the real news on Fridays because it doesn't feel good. And I don't blame you.
That sounds like my 4-year-old when I was like, enough iPad time.
There you go. Okay. Exactly. A grandkid or a child who's getting their toy taken away from them. No, Stephanie, look at the screen. Who do you see there?
It appears to be an adult woman.
There's a woman with a still photo of a woman with a microphone in her hand who just happens to be the same woman that you just heard screaming after she went into the then governor of Tennessee, Lee's office, because she was part of apparently a domestic abuse law protest that apparently she's a victim of sexual assault, apparently, from what I could do. I was researching this. It appears to be real. And this was several years ago, I think 2019. And she just busts into the governor's office. Law enforcement, I guess this would be like the Capitol Police, maybe, dragging her out of the office and one of her co-protesters coming to her aid. And she's just sort of all crumpled up, like, she's mentally ill. This is this hysterical woman. And this is Afton Bain.
And the election is on December 2nd. She's election day.
Which is next Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a state rep, right, who's running for the U.S. Congress in that very red district, but it includes a little sliver of Nashville, as you said yesterday. But a lot of, and apparently she's really, it includes a lot of Clarksville, where Fort Campbell is. That is amazing.
Lucky for her, Billy Long wasn't there. He would have auctioned her right out of the governor's office.
I mean, when you watch this video, it's quite amazing. I mean, she just storms into the office, brusts into the governor's office, and then these it took two officers they just drag her out, kicking and screaming and hysterical. And then remember, she's the one that she said she hates Nashville, she hates country music, she hates the bachelorettes that go there and give commerce.
She hates the police.
She hates the police.
But she loves America.
I'm sorry for this woman and whatever kind of trauma she's had and whatever, but does she need to bring that to a U.S. representative's office? And the fact that she's, according to Shannon, my daughter who's down in Fort Campbell and voted yesterday, I'll ask you to guess who she didn't vote for. She said, how is this woman apparently running in this red district getting closer and closer to a guy who's a storied military veteran running for the Republicans?
I have a game for you guys.
Yeah?
Do you think that is excusable by how cute she is? I don't think so. I want to know what you guys think.
Well, first of all, I would differ with you, guy to guy, that she's cute. Do you think she's cute?
Yeah, I thought that she was yesterday, but then I did more research. It's just not. Okay. No, she's not that cute. But I mean, this is.
She's sort of got that young millennial vibe, right? I mean, can we say that? Is that what it is that people find attractive about her?
She's not that ugly, is she?
I'm not making a comment on the beautifulness or otherwise about women. You're not getting a comment from Stephanie either.
I was trying to bait her into that one.
Well, like I said, I mean, I think looks increasingly have something to do with politics here as of late. And I don't know what the impetus is for that, but I mean, we know in business it matters.
Yeah.
It has
heck,
mattered.
the president's appointed and hired more cuties than Fox News.
I mean, the pictures out of Mar-a-Lago.
Well,
He
Laura
likes to surround himself with beautiful women. There's
Laura
no question
Halligan.
about that.
Fairly attractive woman that was a private attorney for him, and suddenly she's a prosecutor in the Comey case.
I mean, it's documented in business that people like to deal with people who look better, and people especially in industries like sales, it really like appearances matter. People talk about things like pretty privilege. If you're better looking, you can get away with a lot more. People are nicer to you. People are more likely to, give you the hotel upgrade or, the good table at the restaurant.
That's why they always give me the janitor's closet.
It can be
an
really
upgrade.
It can be really powerful. So, I mean, I don't think the fact that you are pretty should be a knock on the fact that you aren't also talented and smart. I think there are exceptions like this chick who maybe has been getting by on her pretty privilege, and her policies and actions speak of a different type of character.
So do you think, are there differential characteristics for men and women that give them a differential advantage in a given? So if you notice, I'd never, in a previous time in a different city, there was an event where Bill O'Reilly came in and did an event for a station. I couldn't believe the stature of that guy. He's a big guy.
Yeah. I mean,
then you look at Comey, for whatever side of the fence he's on. You look at Barack Obama. You look at Bill Clinton. You look at Donald Trump.
Eric Schmidt.
Yeah.
Eric Schmidt. These are men of big stature, tall, formidable men.
Yeah, I think height has has a role to play in politics for whatever reason. It kind of brings about an air of like power. I think like vocal tone. I mean, if you go back in history, I think it was Margaret Thatcher did many, many months of vocal training to lower her voice. You think, and then it's been used in other forms, like with Elizabeth Holmes. She did weird voice things to try to command power and attention and gravitas. So these things, like we try to say that they don't matter, but they do play a role. How much of a role I think we have to be sensitive. But I mean, think about Gavin Newsom, like Mondami. Like these are, people who care about appearances,
charismatic people.
Well, and go back to Bill Clinton. I mean, he was like apparently you got in a room with him and women just lost their minds.
I agree. That's what I've heard. People that were in the room with him said it's just unbelievable.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
and I've heard women talk that way in front of their husbands, which is it's like with a gal who was standing there. She used to work in the OR, and her husband actually is a high-profile person in the community there. We were at a party one day, and we're talking and standing in a little gaggle, and she says, when I walked through that receiving line and I was able to look into his eyes and shake his hand, I'm like, I mean, come on, your husband's standing right there.
I think it's okay to admit that some people are objectively attractive.
Well,
I still remember Mel Carnahan's funeral. I've talked about it before, where Bill Clinton got up to the podium and leaned over it and looked at the crowd and said, "I love the guy." I was like, man, this guy's got it in spades.
Yeah, I love the guy. So, Drake, in your life, in terms of maybe when you band, in Mizzou band, or in other interactions when you've been in a group of people, do you find that leadership sometimes bubbles to the top with a requisite amount of talent, but then after that, the difference maker is either stature for a guy or, quote, however you define it, beauty or for a woman?
Not for band, I can tell you that much. No. But I'd like to push back on Stephanie's thing. You say that, saying that this guy is hot is okay and all that, but like the male equivalent is staring at a girl's butt. So, I mean, is that okay too?
I just wasn't saying anything about their butts.
No, I'm saying that that's our equivalency. So, like, you say, oh my gosh, he looks so hot or whatever, and you're lost in his eyes. We just stare at girls' butts. Like, is it?
Because I'm sure you're staring at Sydney Sweeney's face, Drake.
I am.
Butts?
Yeah. Personality, butt, whatever. Anyways, I'm just trying to see where the line is.
Are butts the current anatomic focus of young men these days?
It's a lot easier to stare at those than...
Yeah.
Why did this conversation get you?
You're the one that brought up staring at butts, not me. I talked about stature.
Okay, yeah, you're right. No,
All right.
in my
Our own
experience,
Sir Mix-a-Lot, right?
Have you tried that line from yesterday? From
how much your arm weighs?
yeah, that Scott Bessent said to Christian Walker.
Not yet.
Or Welker?
Not yet. You can't force the line. I mean,
That's just
Drake's still stuck on I love big butts and I cannot lie.
John, you've been around the political scene in Jefferson City. Would you agree with Stephanie that, when it comes to Jefferson City Pauls and leaders, that's true? Whether they're on the female or the male side of the spectrum?
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, gosh, look at the history. What was George Washington was 6'2", and Lincoln was 6'4", and if you want to talk about strictly just the stature side, Barack Obama was tall. Donald Trump's as tall as about any president we've ever had. So, and the same thing goes true for the fairer sex.
The good old days when men wore powder wigs and were considered still
That's right.
machismo. What I really appreciate about anyone, especially, but you notice it in the age of technology. A lot of young girls, especially the adolescent girls and stuff. I think maybe with guys, but I see it a lot with girls because girls are more active on social media, and I think by time, at least, I think spend a little more time that way. And you see, we all are developing this sort of problem with our, the neck pain from the
tech neck.
Tech neck. But show me a person, I don't care what gender they are, that is well groomed, that holds themselves proudly, and we all know what that means, sort of poised with posture and just, poise. I really don't care about the objective looks. I just want poise and posture and grooming, which leads to the story that we'll talk about a little later. Sean Duffy has some idea. If you're getting on a plane, today may be the busiest day, or is it tomorrow? One of the two is the busiest day, today on the airport, I think.
Flying
some
during
suggestions
the holidays
from
like the plague.
Secretary of Transport Sean Duffy about the way he would like us to behave on the plane. We'll talk about that.
And how we should dress.
And how we should dress and how we should not dress. Let's just say there'll be something about flannel in there. When we come back, we'll make Missouri healthy again. Stay tuned.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
Missouri healthy again. I want to remind everyone that if you're going to be having some great eats, and who isn't on Thanksgiving and the holidays coming up, why not make a commitment to, at the same time, develop a little more strength training, weight training, resistance training, muscle building into your daily regimen. You don't have to join a gym, although that certainly, I think, maybe for some is inspiring, and being around others that are working out sort of helps motivate you. And it's convenient to have all of the equipment you need to work out various muscle groups, and that's great. But you can do things like drop and do 10 3 times a day, or put a little workout ball, what do they call it, a little medicine, the big blow-up ball, and do some crunches on that and do some workouts there to build your abs, because it turns out that researchers at WashU in St. Louis, my alma mater, some radiology researchers have found that if you increase your muscle to visceral fat, now that's the fat inside the belly, not what you see, but what's inside around the organs. It's more of an inflammatory fat, that the higher muscle to visceral fat ratio you have, the slower your brain will age. They looked at people that had relatively more visceral fat and less muscle compared to those that had more muscle and less visceral fat. And the chronological age of their brain, when they had less visceral fat and more muscle, was lower. The biological age was lower than their chronological age. So,
see, I worry less about my brain age and more if you have more muscle mass, then your BMR is higher, right? So you can eat more calories without gaining weight. So all I really want to do is eat more tacos.
Well, but that works.
That helps too, right?
That works. I mean, there's multiple benefits. And in fact, Peter Attia, who is one of these sort of high-profile, longevity guys, he's a really great doc and looks at all the data. He, among others, and I can't disagree with him, say that, exercise is the one common thread among all the research on people that live healthier and longer lives, right? And they think clearer, longer. They are more vigorous. They have less chronic disease. And it's also been said that a sedentary lifestyle is as bad for you as smoking. So exercise, and build muscle, especially if you're on a GLP-1 or, like semaglutide, Ozempic, Wegovy, or tirzepatide, which is Zepbound and
want a pancake
Mounjaro.
booty. You don't want like a pancake booty. They say that like the GLP, it will deplete your muscle mass, and then like although you're skinny, you're kind of like skinny fat where you lose the good shape to your body.
We've been doing we've got a really cool body composition analyzer in the office, and we do that.
Flexing.
And it's really interesting. And Drake's trying to show his muscles. I mean, what are you doing? Your olive oil impersonation there? What are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the lightweight bodybuilding class.
Yeah,
so it's pretty good.
And we're noticing that, in fact, it is true. Not everyone, but many people, if you don't commit to, while you're on that Wegovy, the Zepbound, the Mounjaro, the Ozempic, if you don't commit to really focusing on a resistance training dominant workout practice, along with a pretty hefty protein intake on the higher end of the recommended protein intake, you're going to lose muscle mass. And it's going to be hard to put it back on. You don't build that stuff overnight. And while I think overall losing weight in any way is a good thing if you lose fat, but proportionally there seems to be a little loss of protein that's not all that healthy for you.
And if you need some motivation, then go see that new Wicked movie.
Yeah?
And there's a shirtless prince in there, and I mean, they could run that back on slow-mo for me.
Is that the guy that was the sexiest guy on GQ Man of the Year?
Whatever his upper body workout is, we should get a copy of it.
Sure that wasn't Drake standing in as a double? I don't know. We'll talk about the VCAT when we come back. Great law enforcement move by Columbia area officials. Stay tuned.
From the Zimmer Radio Network headquarters, it's your morning addiction.
What I really appreciate about the president is the meeting that we had focused not on places of disagreement, which there are.
Wake Up Missouri with Stephanie Bell.
I'll be resigning from office with my last day being January 5th, 2026. May God bless you all, and may God bless America.
The Zimmer News Team.
To make everybody's dream come true, having a strong and very safe New York.
And now, introducing your host, Randy Tobler.
It's Marshal Service. Operation Brightside resulted in the arrest of 33 individuals, 6 residential search warrants, 21 felony state warrants, and 19 federal indictments.
Well, that was U.S. Attorney for the Western District, Matthew Price, in a real blockbuster of a presser yesterday. And we've been reporting on that. I know Brian Hauswirth's reporting on that. He's going to join us in a minute. About this, what was the culmination of apparently a several months' effort going on called by a unit called the VCAT, and that is the Violent Crime Abatement Team. And it's really a coalition of a large number of federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies all getting together and just in a big sweep last Thursday and Friday, just really getting in there and cleaning house. That's the only way I can think of it. Brian Hauswirth joins us now. Brian, this was really something that I don't think anyone saw this on anyone's radar, and I think that the authorities had probably been properly, pretty closed-mouthed about things. It was really interesting. Has there been anything like this in the past that you know of?
No, not really that I can think of. There have been, obviously, drug raids and stuff every once in a while and things like that where you have guns involved, Randy. But in terms of this, no, this is the first that we've seen anything like it. And I think you hit it on the head when you talked about VSAT. None of us, and I cover the courts, was even aware of the team. We learned yesterday at the press conference. I was there at City Hall. I have all this, by the way, up at 939theeagle.com. This team was formed in December of 2024, so they've been investigating for about a year. I think also for our listeners in Springfield, I want to point out very quickly, for KWTO listeners, they also have a team there.
I wanted to emphasize that. He did say that.
Yes,
he says
did.
there's a team there.
They did.
So,
he
get
did
the word out.
Yeah, he did. I think what he's saying there is criminals in Springfield, look out. Yeah. But he didn't really elaborate on that. But in a nutshell, this is about violent crimes. It's the most violent offenders in the Columbia area. 32 arrested on felony charges. 19 federal indictments. This was all called Operation Brightside. I did ask the U.S. Attorney about if he could share any specifics about these 19 federal indictments, names, anything like that. A lot of them in the story I've got on air and online. A lot of them are under seal right now. What that means is they're still looking for some of them. But they have 32 of them behind bars right now. And what they're going to decide is, and the feds will decide this along with Roger Johnson and the various agencies as well, do you prosecute them in federal court or do you go to state court? But we don't have a lot of details right now. I do want, especially for our mid-Missouri listeners, I asked yesterday in front of everybody, was Simpson, who was the Plush Lounge murder suspect, who was still lived at the Lynx, been on the run for a couple of years. Has he been captured yet? And they didn't have the list in front of them right there. They're going to check on that and let me know. So, but the bottom line is these are going to be names I'm sure that we're going to be probably have reported on a lot of these before, but we just don't have the names right now.
Chief Brian, I thought it was interesting that you pointed out in your story that they came right up front. The attorney said the shooting in downtown Columbia homecoming weekend was, what did he say, the straw that broke the camel's back?
That's a direct quote. Megan Drakis from our news partner ABC 17 asked that question about just a reaction to Ayanna Williams shooting. And he this was not the press release. He volunteered it from the podium. He says, we were already involved, obviously secretly. Nobody knew that, and they couldn't say it at the time, but they were already involved. The feds were already involved because of the violence in Columbia, including shootings in downtown Columbia that we had back in April. And they're aware of that park shooting at Cosmo Park where hundreds of rounds were fired, and nobody was ever been arrested on that either.
And I was thinking we were going to do a Feel Good Wednesday instead of Friday, because we're not on the air Friday. There'll be other programming. But I thought, man, I'm feeling pretty good this morning. I'm feeling real good because I think this is hopefully going to do exactly what U.S. Attorney Matthew Price, I think, transmitted through this comment.
Violence in our community is unacceptable, especially when innocent people are harmed. Every agency in this coalition, through the continued efforts of VCAT, are committed to using every appropriate tool and resource at our disposal to confront, to fight, and to reduce violent crime in Columbia and mid-Missouri. Our message is that we are working together, we are collaborating in innovative ways, and that we are here to stay.
It was right after the Williams shooting, and sadly that young lady got caught up in totally something she had nothing to do with, just totally a innocent crossfire that she was the victim of,
Yes.
And I remember saying it that day, where are the prosecutors? Where is the prosecutor behind the bully pulpit saying, enough, we know who you are, we're not going to tolerate this. If you're even thinking about it, think again. And that's exactly what we heard. I'm telling you, I was dancing on the ceiling last night. When I saw this and heard, I kept my wife said, "What's with you?" I just kept looping it. I was so thrilled. Thank you so much.
Well, this is and our listeners are thrilled with this as well. If you go to our Facebook page, they want this as well, and it's very significant. Here's the thing, Randy, what you said, and most listeners don't know this. There is no parole in the federal system. You don't get paroled in the federal system. You go to prison for 10 years. You serve 10 years. I don't think most people knew that.
They
don't know that. Most people, I put it in my stories. I just don't know how many people actually live. But that is huge. Now, the state of Missouri is a conditional release state. We talk about the judges, we talk about the parole board, but the reality is state law mandates, unless they're convicted of a first degree assault or second degree murder, you have to parole them. People don't realize that we're a conditional release state. But this is huge, and obviously we'll be looking for when these indictments become unsealed once they can capture some people as well. But I think there's one other thing I think he said that I think is extremely important here, and that is the fact that you had all these various agencies involved: FBI, Homeland Security, Columbia Police Department, Boone County Sheriff's Department, and he's correct, all that, and he went through the list. By the way, ICE was not involved. This had nothing to do with immigration. He called it a homegrown solution to a hometown problem. And that's huge. It's a very, very powerful quote.
And boy, talk about Moon Choi having some timely input.
Well, I want to commend President Choi for his leadership in persistently and vocally making his concerns known regarding violence in Columbia and the quality of life issues in downtown. Unbeknownst to President Choi, efforts were already underway. Significant cooperation through the VCAT was already ongoing. The death during homecoming weekend was frankly the straw that broke the camel's back. So I reached out to President Choi. I wanted to meet to hear his concerns from his perspective and let him know that we had federal tools and resources at our disposal ready to help to address the situation.
I'm telling you, this is like an early Christmas present under the tree for all of the citizens and the visitors to Columbia and surrounding areas. And again, it's in Springfield too. They're active in Springfield,
which means they're probably actively doing investigations there. It's important to note that soundbite is so powerful. Let's remind our listeners, Randy. Let's remind them. We're preaching to the choir that we had professors at the University of Missouri, professors that criticized President Choi, said there were no major problems with crime. Obviously, the U.S. Attorney and the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, see it differently. The fact that we had 32 people arrested, as the chief said, they almost filled the jail. 19 federal indictments, and those federal indictments are going to end up we don't know where they'll end up. They'll end up in an undisclosed location. But he specifically praised President Choi, and obviously President Choi had no idea that this sweep was going to go on. They don't let civilians know. But Choi also talked about the homeless. He was there yesterday. I'll have more on that tomorrow. He feels like we need a pedestrian safety ordinance. I didn't get into that so much today. I'll do it tomorrow because I wanted to focus mainly on the violent crime. But President Choi was furious with this shooting with this young lady was killed, and he's also said he's going to continue to do walks. But I thought it was just very unusual to have a U.S. attorney praise a university president.
That was unusual.
I've never seen it before, but it was huge.
And hats off to Chief Jill Schluty, who made some remarks as well.
Closely with our state and federal and local law enforcement partners, we're able to bring far greater resources to bear on the individuals who drive violence in our city. Our community deserves to feel safe, and the Columbia Police Department remains firmly committed to using every lawful tool available to reduce violent crime and ensure that Columbia is a safe and thriving city for everyone.
Wow, man, this was blockbuster. This is just blockbuster.
It is a big deal, and the chief also pointed out, Police Chief Jill Schluty, that, and I know she'll join us next week on the show, join you two next week on the show. She said this is very dangerous work to apprehend these kind of, these are very violent criminals, the most dangerous ones in Columbia area. There were no injuries, no one resisted. They obviously didn't have anybody hurt, no reports of injuries. She said this is dangerous work and praises them. But the chief did a great job. And also, let's be fair here. Mayor Buffalo was there. She was there. I saw her talking. She was right in front of me talking to President Choi. They had a cordial visit. The mayor supports this effort. And I also talked to Carlin Seawood, who's the city manager, who, quite frankly, as you know, I mean, he runs the city, city manager. He supports this effort as well. And he was there in support of as well, Operation Brightside.
Well, congratulations to all of the various law enforcement agencies, CPD, Boone County Sheriff, ATF, DEA, the federal marshals. Who am I leaving out here? Highway Patrol,
Homeland Security, and the Highway Patrol.
Yeah.
But that's and those are Boone County Sheriff's Office. And I didn't see Sheriff Carey there. That doesn't mean he wasn't there. There were so many police. There were a lot of feds in that room as well. I just did not see him in there. Brian Weimer was there, the chief of MUPD.
Good. I do. I don't know where to get this answer from, but I think a lot of us would like to think that in the community of would-be perps, for lack of a better term, because I always hear, when you talk to police officers, they usually will tell me it's in the single digits, like we know who the bad guys are. And
the repeat offenders.
We know who they are. And if we could somehow clean that up, things would get a lot better. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, right?
That's right.
But because of, I don't know, rules and laws that say they get parole or they never get really, they put away long enough or they don't get the mental health they need, whatever, they end up back on the street. So I would like to think that maybe some of those people that are still out there, maybe now this was more gun-related apparently, maybe in the drug area, maybe are they going to actually listen to this or do they not hear this kind of message? I don't know.
Let me tell you, the criminals listen to the, specifically, I know they listen to the Eagle because I see some of these folks when I go to court.
So is there a network is what I'm asking where this spreads like gossip?
They absolutely know this. Yeah. The criminals out there are aware. They probably saw it. They watch TV. They watch the TV news.
Yeah.
They listen to the radio, and yes, they are certainly aware of this. I guarantee you that.
Well, big deal.
And plus, it'll be out. The word will be out on the streets as well when you got the feds in here. The U.S. Attorney doing a press conference.
Thanks for your reporting.
Thank you.
Again, we hope Chief Jill Schluty will be with us next week. Is AI ruining your job hunt? We'll ask the question when we come back.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
Welcome back into Wake Up Missouri. 2 days before the big day. And everyone's beginning to really sort of feel that good holiday spirit. I mean, it's happening a little early, isn't it? I think so. And maybe that's just Stephanie, you mentioned how Thanksgiving's a little late this year, so maybe everyone's just their internal, holiday time clock's already activated. Maybe that's what it is. But
and we've seen Christmas decorations since Halloween.
Yeah. I got my deer trio, Buck, Mom, and Fawn, my lit deer trio, and my sparkling gold angel with a lyre and a harp. I got that up on Saturday. And so I'm all Christmas spirited.
And the reindeer and the whole 9 yards.
Oh, I love it. I got to get the lights on the gutter. I haven't done that for a few years. I'm working on it. Okay. Hey, we've been talking about the convulsions in the job market. Largely, I mean, we've seen these layoffs, Steph, at Amazon, at Target, at where else? I mean, thousands and thousands, right? A lot of middle manager level things. And I think in the tech industry, we've seen a lot. And even in the professional circles, engineers and others saying, hey, a lot of this stuff that I used to do is being done by AI. When people are being laid off, people are now, of course, applying for jobs. And this article out of Business Insider says that there is really becoming a bottleneck, almost an overwhelming application avalanche coming into recruiters, HR, recruiting, aggregative sites. And if you look at this, this woman who is, they tell the story of a Magdalena Robinson who was laid off from her job as a vice president of talent acquisition at a media agency last July. And she's well qualified, 11 months and 300 applications later, she still doesn't have a single offer. I don't know what's going on right now, she says.
She probably Googled her salary.
I don't know. Well, one explanation is that many businesses stopped hiring after overstaffing in the pandemic. Okay, especially in that white-collar middle manager role. But the other is how easy it's become, according to some of these sites, to use AI to just dump out hundreds and hundreds of applications, which means on the incoming side, they're overwhelmed and they don't know what to do.
Yeah, Greenhouse, one of the leading providers of hiring software, said that the average job now is receiving 242 applications, which is triple the number that they recorded in 2017. And
how do you sift through that?
An employer.
Yeah,
I mean, even when I posted things on Indeed, it's like I get 25 and I feel overwhelmed. And I'm like, okay. And half the applications you get are people who are completely unqualified and they're just like mass submitting them to every open job, I think. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know the thing.
Just
I think
indiscriminately just throwing out job apps. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the lesson here for job seekers is to show up every day, even if you're in a job that you don't like, and perform well. And whether you're in your role as a job, like at your job, and whether you're sitting on the PTA, whether you're serving on a volunteer board, all of those people that you interact with are potential employers or connections to potential employers. And so the first thing, I'm not actively looking, but I'm not actively looking. And the way that I watch people is differently, knowing that I can hire anybody at any moment. So I'm watching how you perform in the courtroom. I'm watching how you interact with other lawyers. And, I might cold call you if you're an A player.
Yeah.
And so I think sending out resumes is not the way to find a job, but showing up every day, doing the things that you are already paid to do and doing even better, you have a much better chance.
Good advice.
I think just local
I want us to be able to vote by phone. I think every Californian
Vote by phone.
Vote by phone. Yeah, if we can do our taxes, do our make our healthcare appointments, make essentially do your banking online, you should be able to vote by phone. Make it safe, make it secure, but it's actually already happening all over the United States. I want us to be a blue state that doesn't do just a little bit better than like Georgia or Alabama when it comes to like voting access. I want us to max out democracy. Also, as it relates to democracy, if you wait in line for 30 minutes or more, if you do want to vote in person, I think you should fine every county for every minute that a person has to wait longer.
Welcome back into Wake Up Missouri. I'm Randy Tobler, along with Stephanie Bell, John Marsh, and Drake Whitman. John, did you get your Eric Swalwell invitation to Thanksgiving so you could go and talk about voting by phone and fining a jurisdiction if they don't allow you to vote within 30 minutes?
I'll have to check my inbox.
Well, look for it. I'm sure that would be a pleasant engagement there.
Because it's just like American Idol or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Vote as many times as you want.
What is that? Vote by phone?
Vote from your phone.
This guy,
guy's
he's running
nuts.
for governor in what is an increasingly packed field. Now, what does that tell us? Does that tell us that people think that maybe Newsom, well, not Newsom, who's the leading candidate there? It's not Porter, is it? What's her name? Katie Porter, that name? I just think this is craziness. I mean, voting by phone. Isn't there a move in federally to try to really rein in the more liberal voting rules? I mean, first of all, they were talking about voter ID nationally, and I know some people have a problem with that.
But the majority of people support. Elon's been tweeting about that just here recently.
Yeah,
it's like a 70% issue or higher.
Yeah, I think if we didn't have such a insurgent migration population, the illegal immigrants, I think I would probably maybe be mostly against it. But there's so many people that can abuse a system that doesn't have positive identification like that I think under these circumstances, I'm for it. Do you have yours, by the way? I know you've said you needed to get that. Get your
Real ID?
Yeah, your real ID.
Definitely no.
No?
I've just been traveling with a passport.
You do your passport. Boy, that makes me nervous. I'm afraid you can lose it. Speaking of traveling, Sean Duffy has some ideas. He's thinking that maybe we should, in this what will be among the busiest days, probably the busiest day of the year today or tomorrow. And Sean Duffy is saying, we really need to try to have a little more decorum when we're on our airplanes.
Please.
Huh? You don't think so?
No, yes, I do think
You're
so.
for that? Because I know you love when people take their shoes off on the airport.
That is disgusting.
Among your favorite things, isn't it? But he's basically saying that people should probably be courteous. I don't know. I've not seen discourteous behavior. I really haven't witnessed that. People are generally helpful, trying to help maybe people that are struggling to get their bags out of that overhead compartment. People generally trying to be helpful. No? Have you seen
Steph
a lot of...
can probably relate. You go through some of the big airports, you see people in inappropriate attire or way too few clothes to be flying on an airplane. Or like Sean said, people in pajamas and house shoes.
Yeah, I mean, people are just completely unprepared. And so I think having a little bit of thought about it and being prepared is appropriate. I think eating on flights that are under 3 hours is against the rules. Hot food on airplanes, against the rules. I think I've seen, fighting over, like pushing on the back of the seats if you lean it back, or not being able to stand and yanking on someone's seat so you can stand up rather than using your armrest. All bad. Fighting over whether the window, if the entire plane is trying to sleep and you're the jerk with the window open and everything else is dark, just have a little self-awareness. And I think also, if you're in the TSA line behind the person whose pockets are completely full of junk, who is wearing 17 necklaces, who has shoes that need to get untied, and you're holding up the whole line, again, have a little courtesy for the people who are trying to get through the line.
I thought this was America.
More security. Now you've got people are worried about their safety. Right. But this is something that you really want to see change.
So I've asked people for feedback. What happens at the gate? And again, are people nice to the gate agents? What happens with some of the brawls we've seen at baggage claim? people behaving well on the airplane. Be nice, say please, say thank you. Bringing civility back, I think, enhances the travel experience for everybody. And so sometimes you just have to ask people, hey, let's maybe go back to an era where we didn't wear our pajamas to the airport. We actually might dress up a little bit. And if someone needs help putting their luggage up in the overhead bin, help them out.
Well, that all makes common sense.
I don't know. I thought we won the Cold War. This is America. We can do what we want. If you want to wear your bikini to the airport, go ahead. I don't care.
You have a conflict of interest there.
Okay, wear pajamas. I don't care. This is America. We should be able to do what we want on flights. If the company allows it, we should be able to smoke. We should be able to drink. Come on. I mean,
did you ever see any of the old, when TWA first got started and was really sort of the flagship airline in the United States back in the late 50s, early 60s? Man, flying was a big deal. The men had their hats on, the women had their pearl necklaces and their dresses, and the men had their suits. I remember when my grandpa, on my dad's side, they lived in St. Louis, but then he was out in California. So when he would come back, maybe coming through town on a business trip, man, he had his trench coat on and he had his tie, skinny black tie, and he would bring the little wings. They would give you little wings, when you flew for the kids. And it was really sort of a very upscale event when you flew on an airplane. Now,
heck, TWA used to hand out the little baby packs of cigarettes to flyers on board the aircraft. They're like the ones that came in the Sea Rats.
Now, okay, so you don't like when someone pulls on the back of your headrest to help themselves get up?
Yeah, because I turn into like a slingshot.
Well, sometimes it's tough, though. I've had problems sometimes with very tight quarters where you get up, but as especially if you're in the middle seat or you're in the window seat and you're trying to skinny by people, and then you start to fall or trip, and you don't want to fall on the person back of you, so all you have to do, you have to grab for something.
These are lazy who grab your seat, and it's rude. If you're falling, I understand. Most people are not falling. They're just lazy or overweight.
I mean, the only thing that I think is not courteous and that should be not allowed is fat people with when it hangs off over into the other seat. Mm-hmm. That is just, dude, get it on a diet.
And dogs.
I think for
take your dog somewhere.
Or pit bulls.
I think for larger people, aren't they now doing a 2-seat thing where you have to buy 2 seats in some airlines, or how does that work?
I think that's right. I don't know the rules.
But I know there's been there is a group that represents larger people that say, hey, we bought a seat. We have a right to have a seat that fits us. And so there's been some disputes that way. I know. I don't know where that is, whether it's turned into a legal thing or not. But
But I think if for no other reason as do it selfishly, because again, we were talking about pretty privilege and people interacting better with people who take care of themselves. Mm-hmm. And it's documented as well that if you have a flight cancellation and you go to the desk and you're dressed nicely, people will want to help you. And if you are looking for an upgrade, perhaps not wearing pajamas might increase your chances. So I get long haul flights, you want to be comfortable, but for short flights, I do think just having a little bit of self-respect and respect for the folks who you're interacting with is important.
So am I being rude if if it's a nighttime flight and the lights are off, but I put my little reading light on to read? I mean, I need to read. I need to do some work. Is that a bad thing? Am I being a bad guy?
It depends.
573-874-9390. I thought that the lights were there to focus so it didn't bother other people, but there is light scatter after all. I mean, it always is on my mind. I always wonder. I wait till the person next to me, usually if I can, I wait till they're soundly asleep and then I turn on the thing, because I got work to do.
Well, I mean, some people only take one flight every 10 years because they can't afford it, and they want to see the sky. They want to see everything, so they should be allowed to look out the window.
Yeah, I disagree with you there, Stephanie. If I'm sitting by the window and the splendor of being up in the air and watching the city disappear behind me as we take off, or up here as we that's exciting for some people, so they ought to be able to do that. No?
It depends. again, just have some situational awareness. If everyone else on the plane is trying to sleep and everyone else has their window closed and you're the one shining the light in, just...
But if you're trying to sleep, isn't it nighttime? So what? Who cares if the window's open?
It's not always...
It's dark.
It depends.
Yeah,
573-874-9390. On the next flight to Destin out of Columbia, I can hear it now. This is your pilot speaking. Stephanie wants to sleep. Please do not open your window.
And yes, you can bring an eye mask and all of that, but I just think just understanding that we're all in this together.
Yeah.
And having some thought about the staff and the people around you would be welcome.
It's very Mom Donnie of you. No, I agree with you. I think that's right.
I mean, I
think that's right.
You should be able to do that out of respect to others. But if you want to open up your window, do it. I mean, it's if you're doing it on a 3-hour flight. Oh no, there are 3 hours that they're going to spend sitting down. It's ruined because they have a little bit more light. It's not that big of a deal, guys.
Well, Drake, like you were saying, the people who don't fly frequently would be very surprised. Get on a modern airliner and the seats, you'll notice the seats are a lot smaller than maybe the last time you flew.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the carriers that downsize their seats.
Isaiah says...
Thank you. I take a
all
bow.
hail Queen Stephanie, says Isaiah. Isaiah, you know properly where your allegiance should be put. Thank you, Isaiah. You clearly... Jackie says, too much talking on early or late flights. Yep. Mike says, do y'all not believe in individual liberty anymore? Where's the victim if I wear my PJs? If it's not hurting you, mind your own business. Y'all sound like a bunch of Karens this morning. Oh, Stephanie is just a fun hater, says John.
I mean, at the very least, take a shower and wear some deodorant. That would be appreciated.
And leave the 90-pound pit bull in somebody else's aisle.
Please.
If you want to sleep on a plane, you should provide your own needs and wear a mask over your eyes. Oh, I will never forget, though, the time that lady sat down next to me and had some, extra onions Big Mac. And the whole trip.
The time that gal, squished her fork and flung macaroni and cheese all over me, that was lovely.
And it wouldn't have bothered me, except I was having a little queasiness from recovering from a stomach flu thing. It's like I didn't need the extra onions Big Mac experience. What do you got coming up, John?
Well, as long as we're on transportation, Tesla and Waymo asleep at the wheel.
All right, let's hear it when we come back.
It's Wake Up.
And that would be all, except for this.
In San Francisco, where self-driving taxis are a regular thing, one rider recorded a video during his journey in a Tesla robo-taxi. The Tesla taxis are required to have a safety driver, a human, who sits behind the wheel but doesn't drive. And while that just makes all sorts of sense, if the driver isn't awake, it's not much use. The safety driver literally fell asleep at least 3 times during the ride, the passenger said. And each time the car's pay attention safety alert went off and the beeping's what woke him back up, the rider says, I chose Waymo for the return trip. But a driverless Waymo in San Francisco, it turns out, struck and killed the beloved neighborhood cat named Kit Kat. Last month, the incident sparked outrage by the community and reignited public debate over the safety of autonomous vehicles. Waymo confirmed the incident, stated the cat darted under the vehicle as it was pulling away, and expressed its sympathies, also making a donation to an animal rights group in Kit Kat's honor.
Wow.
So it goes. To which the crowd gathered up and said, what if that had been a kid?
Yeah, I know. So how many lives? I guess that cat ran out of lives, huh?
Guess so.
Yeah.
That's something I haven't had the fortitude to do yet, is to get in a driverless car.
You know, this car that we just got has all kinds of this interesting technology that's sort of annoying. If you take your hands off the wheel for just a minute to blow your nose or whatever, you know, it's all of a sudden it's like it'll veer over a little bit, and then the lane correction brings you back in. It says, I played with it. I toyed with it a little bit, sort of baited it. I did it a couple times, you know. It said, stop. You need to stop and take a rest, take a break, and get some coffee.
I know.
I'm like, it's very annoying.
I mean, the listeners are calling us a Karen, but since when did the cars become Karens? Because it feels like it's constantly tattling or correcting me. And as someone who wants an A+, I get so perturbed.
Yeah.
And even if you live in Ashland, I can walk to Jose Jalapenos. It is so close.
Oh, nice.
And sometimes I jump in the car, I'm fumbling around. It's like, and I usually buckle, we're going 10 miles an hour, we're going 1,000 yards, and it's like ding, ding, and then it gets more progressively mad, and I'm just like, just leave me alone.
I know.
But it feels like that about everything, and it's like, these days,
breaking the law, counselor.
Well, and parking spots are so tight these days that I'm not hitting anything, but every time I pull into a parking spot, the whole car is alarming.
Absolutely.
And you're gonna get in a wreck, and I'm like, this parking spot is so small. And it just going through the drive-through, I'm like, is there a way to, if it's dinging and you're not hitting anything, to override it? I haven't figured that out.
One that gets me is our previous station vehicle had the feature. This one doesn't. Is the auto stop when it shuts the motor down, and then it fires it back up when you pull away. And there's a defeat button you can hit every time. But it's just sort of like, doesn't that wear your starter out that much faster? When it has
you'd
to
think
restart the motor at every stop sign.
I wish we have this hybrid that it's not a plug-in hybrid, but I wish they didn't have this option to look at when it's charging or when it's on electric, because I find myself getting distracted. I'm just so fascinated by it. Ooh, am I charging on coast? Oh, I'm burning fuel. Oh no, take your foot off the gas. There's a little downhill slide. I want to charge the battery. It becomes a video game while you're driving, for crying out loud. I don't think we need that. When we come back, we'll talk about Ukraine with someone that's been there and done that, knows a little bit. In studio with us. Stay tuned.
Remains hopeful and optimistic that a deal can be struck. And I think he deserves a great amount of credit for the extensive amount of time and energy he has put into solving this war. He wants to see the killing end. He wants this war to end. And his frustration grows out of the frustration of the American people.
Well, so many of us are frustrated, and we're thousands of miles away from the conflict over there in Ukraine as it drags on and on and on and on. And we can surmise what may be going on, what we'd like to happen, but often it's great to hear from people that have been there, done that, know the people, know the landscape, know the political and the other environment there. And we have such a person joining us in studio, along with Hal Dooley, who's host Open Air Saturdays in KWS. Dave Agan joins us now, former Marine officer, and he joins us in studio. Dave and Hal, welcome in.
Good morning.
Good morning. Dave, you spent 7 years in Ukraine, huh? Tell us about that experience.
Well, it's great. The people are great. They love Americans, and they actually, I think they want to be Americans in a lot of ways, although not so much right now. But they treat us well. The country is not as backward as a lot of people tend to think. I mean, the city I live in right now is 250,000 people. I lived in Kyiv for almost 4 years until the war started, and it's been really good. Before I went over, I was told I had to be careful about different things. I feel totally safe walking on any street there. I've never had a problem. I did get pickpocketed, but that could happen anywhere. But other than that, I've never had a problem at all.
Dave, talk to us about the group that you were teamed up with as trainers, largely a bunch of military folks, right?
Yeah, I work with a group called the Wolverines. They're basically international. It's a lot of mostly former military. The guys I work with, there's like 25 of them. They were from the U.S., Canada, Great Britain, Australia, Norway. We even had a French Foreign Legion guy, and we did combat training. Basically, the Ukrainians had no training. They were taking people off the farm or out of a doctor's office or whatever and sticking them right into the front, and we would get them, and we would use 2 to 3 weeks if we could get that much, and we'd train them as much as we could and they're very smart. I couldn't believe how smart and how fast these people were at picking up things. But we trained them on everything from basic combat to clearing rooms to patrolling, even ambushing. And then we worked a little bit with them on partisan tactics just in case. Because we had 17 different training sites, and we trained about 8,000 Ukrainians.
Holy cow.
Unfortunately, sometimes it didn't work because we didn't have them long enough. I remember when we went to Ivano-Frankivsk, we had a group of 500 we were supposed to train. They showed up on a Monday. On Tuesday, they were shipped to the front.
Holy cow.
So, Dave, what is the overall feeling towards this war, towards Ukraine? Is it a lot of nationalism? They're happy to fight for their country, or is there a lot of people who are have pent-up anger towards the government for forcing them to go?
Well, I wouldn't say anybody's happy to fight. Of course, like over here during the Vietnam War, we got people that don't want to, and we got a lot of people that do. And I know a lot of the military people, and they're motivated for the most part. Although, I mean, my God, some of those guys have been on the front line for 3.5 years, and they are worn out. But they don't want the Russians to take their country. They hate Russia. People here, I don't think, understand the real how strong the feeling is against Russia over there. Russia controlled the country for years. I hear these fools over here talking about how Russia can take these people because they're Russian speaking. Well, the reason they're Russian speaking is because Russia controlled the country for 70, 80 years and forced them to speak Russian. You know, when I went to Kyiv originally, and I've been going to Ukraine for 25 years, and when I went over there, everybody spoke Russian. It was what they knew. They didn't even remember Ukrainian anymore because the Russians crushed the language so hard. They've been crushing the language. They've been crushing the culture. They're trying to erase Ukraine.
My grandmother, I've talked before on the air, Dave, that she came here from Kyiv when she was 12 years old, and she and my great-grandmother were Russian speakers. So it answers to just what you were saying.
It's very, very common. I live right now on the very far western part of Ukraine, Ivano-Frankivsk, and they speak Ukrainian there. As a matter of fact, they don't like to hear Russian. Gee, I wonder why.
We're talking with Dave Agan, who is brought in along with Hal Dooley here, who you hear hosting Open Air Saturday on KWS at 8 a.m. Dave, to the extent that this has been described as a war of attrition, and it looks like from a pragmatic standpoint, what we're hearing from President Trump and from others is like, hey, at some point, I mean, when you've got the massive Russian army and their materiel, and it looks like they're getting help from occasionally the North Koreans and the Chinese, that it's only a matter of time to where, like you said, fatigue finally wins out and lack of arms and so forth. Is there a sense with your ongoing connections there, I assume you're staying connected one way or another, that at some point there's going to need to be some concession made just to put an end to the bloodshed or not?
You see, the problem I see right now is, number one, I don't think Trump understands what's going on at all. I don't think he has really much of a clue as to the war in general. Matter of fact, he said on at least one or two occasions that he doesn't know why a country as small as Ukraine would attack a country like Russia. Well, Russia attacked Ukraine. Ukraine did not attack Russia. So that's just a basic fallacy there. As far as attrition, the Russians are dying like flies. They're so the way they're running things. They were running on motorcycles. The last time I saw, they actually were running assaults on scooters.
Wow.
They're running out of equipment. They don't take their dead. They leave them laying on the ground. Wow. Matter of fact, I had friends that were in Bakhmut, and they said you could walk on the bodies. There were so many dead Russians. Matter of fact, the Russians, I've seen videos of them executing their own people when they were wounded.
Oh my!
The Russians they're so hurting for people that they're sending back guys that are on crutches and sending them into meat assaults. The Ukrainians are losing people too, of course, and there's nothing you can do about that. But let's put it this way. Let's say that the United States got assaulted by Russia. What would we do? Will we fight back or will we roll over? Will we make concessions and say, well, I want to say take California, but might be a lot of people say go ahead on that. But,
well, I think that's a misconception, because what the reporting we get is that the Ukrainians are just running out of steam, however you define that, both human and war fighting resources. And it sounds like you're saying the reality is not what we're hearing on the ground. Yeah. Oh,
especially not. A lot of the stuff you're hearing from Trump and his people especially is Russian talking points. And then you've got people like Tucker Carlson and what's this guy, Ritter, and there's a Colonel McGregor and different people like that I'm pretty sure are paid by Russia. And they spew nothing but Russian propaganda. Of course, the Russians want you to think that everything is terrible and they're winning. They're making maybe, 3 or 4 feet a day, if that much progress. They're getting their butts handed to them.
Dave, what do you think about Trump's latest peace proposal to try to end the war?
You mean the capitulation proposal?
Yes, sir.
The one where Ukraine gives everything, Russia gives nothing? What do I think about it? I think it's not as good as toilet paper. I've seen better toilet paper.
So what's needed? Let's follow up with that. What's needed to help the Ukrainians show overwhelming force, push back the Russians from occupied Ukrainian territory? Do the Eastern Europeans, does NATO need to somehow, do we need more, do they need to pull more, some bigger weight there? What's needed?
Well, I'll tell you, number one, we need to quit being timid. All this nonsense that Biden did about escalation was just total nonsense. The Russians were escalating no matter what, and they weren't going to use nukes. They're not that stupid, I don't think. Because, seriously, we would hammer them. There'd be no Russia left if they used nukes. here's something that really drives me nuts. I hear you Americans talking about how much money and how much equipment we're sending and giving to Ukraine. Well, the majority of the stuff that we're given as far as equipment is old. It's not the current stuff. It's old, obsolete equipment that we were either going to destroy or give to an ally anyway. The numbers that Trump says is like $350 billion, and that's probably double what it really is. The Europeans have given more than the Americans have, but we need to give them the ability to fight back. We've tied their hands behind their back. Russia feels free to hit Ukraine from anywhere. Ukraine's not supposed to hit back. Well, they're finally starting to, and it's making a difference. They're cutting into Russia's oil supplies, and that's where Russia gets the majority of their money. But they're taking out a lot of their refineries and stuff. Russia, what is it doing? It's hitting civilians. They claim it's all military targets, but I've been there, and it's not. I went through a town called Izium about 3 years ago. It's outside of Kharkiv. And it's one of the ones that was taken back, and there was hardly two walls standing.
Whoa!
It's just destroyed. I've been down in Kherson several times. In Kherson, what the Russians are doing now is they're training their drone pilots by doing what they call human safari. They're hunting for civilians with their drones and killing civilians.
Oh my God!
People don't understand this. I've been to Bucha. I'm sure you've heard of Bucha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there. As a matter of fact, I lived 10, 15 minutes from there when the war started, and I could not go in because it was so sad.
Wow.
There were gas stations, everything was destroyed. I did a video in front of an apartment complex that was burned out and destroyed. It was just, it's so sad.
Dave, it's sad that we're out of time. I hope you'll come back and join us and give us an update in the not-too-distant future. Possible?
I'm leaving back to Ukraine on the 12th or the 10th.
All right. Well, maybe we'll get you from Ukraine. We'll be talking. Dave Egan, thank you for your service and for that reporting. And Hal, thank you so much for all you do on KWS on Saturday mornings.
You're welcome, Doc.
All right. When we come back, it's the Morning Report with Stephanie.
It's Wake Up
few days before the big turkey day?
Well, yesterday we heard another Fed official is in support of an interest rate cut next month. Stocks are surging because tech companies are staging a comeback. NASDAQ had its biggest jump since May. We're going to talk a little bit about Alphabet, which is the parent of Google, who has had some pretty good news this week. So with stocks yesterday, we had the NASDAQ up 2.69%, S&P up 1.55%, Dow following with a 0.44% increase. As we look at the gainers, communication services, technology, and consumer discretionary up pretty big. And when we talk about the Fed meeting, that policy meeting is set for December 9th and 10th. The problem is we're not going to have all the data that we want. The Bureau of Labor Statistics said it's delaying the November jobs report to December 16th. It was due on the 5th. And the inflation report is now going to be reported on December 18th. That's from December 10th. Notably, both of those dates are after the Fed is meeting. And so what we were hearing last week with all of the losses in the stock market, where people were getting pretty skeptical that the Fed would actually cut interest rates, yesterday's announcement from one of the folks seems to be giving us a little bit of bump. Also giving us a bump is Google, which has had a really big week. They need to check in, though, I think, Randy, with whoever named Operation Brightside.
Why is that?
Because they released a new product. They released a couple new products. So they've got the Gemini 3, which is the next version of their AI chatbot. And folks are saying it's actually better than the competition. It surpasses things like ChatGPT and other models in these benchmark test cases. So anytime a new model comes out, they've got a whole bunch of different tests that they run to say, how good does this model do on this test? Apparently, Gemini 3 is doing really well. I haven't had a chance to play with it. It's not my chatbot of choice currently.
That's the Google's. Gemini is the
Google's.
Okay.
And Google's been taking a lot of heat because people are saying, oh my gosh, Google search is over. People are using chat now instead of Google or whatever. But they are still very much in the mix. Their parent company, Alphabet, shares have surged, are up 77% over the last 6 months. And beyond their chatbot, they released this other new thing. Let's see if I can get the name right. It's pretty weird. Okay, an updated version of its image generation tool, which you can use to make infographics, and it also makes slide decks. Now, infographics, I think, are super difficult. I used to try to make them by hand. Even worse, like corporate structure charts. If you've ever tried to use a Microsoft product to make those, it
tough.
Is really difficult. But their new tool, which I think they should rename Nano Banana Pro.
I thought there was a baseball team about the bananas.
Nana Banana Pro is their new image generation tool. And again, you can make infographics and slide decks with it. Haven't had a chance to check it out yet. But also Google has other things going for it. Alphabet's got cloud revenue for all of their cloud products. Its revenue is growing. And then also it's got YouTube. And what we know from the Pew Research Center, YouTube is the most widely used online platform amongst U.S. adults and teens. 84% of adults say they've used YouTube. Second is Facebook. Nearly half of adults get on YouTube daily. So they got a lot of cash to invest in these new products.
It can be like an Encyclopedia Britannica or a little vocational helper if you got a plumbing problem. I know that. Hey, there's been a tragedy in Colombia with a family losing its entire home, and we'll talk about that when we come back. Time to start helping others. Stay tuned.
Has America been fair to Donald Trump?
Welcome back into Wake Up Missouri. You know, this is a time of Thanksgiving and a time of counting our blessings. But sadly, there's a family in town that, among many who have various challenges, but a family that I think unfortunately suffered one of the most difficult challenges you could ever face, and that is losing your entire home. And Brian and Mike, I know, have been reporting on this morning. The home of Dr. Jennifer Sutherland. She works with Dr. Ashley Emmel at Compass Chiropractic and Wellness, and her husband Jason. Their home was entirely destroyed. I mean, the whole thing burned to the ground. There's only a chimney standing in a fire.
And Jason, a former Mizzou men's basketball player, the family with kids, and lost everything right before the holidays.
Apparently, Grandma was in the house, and the 10-year-old Nikki, but not the 16-year-old child. So. Asking for some help for this family, and you can drop donations off at the office there at Compass Chiropractic and Wellness. I think there's another location as well, isn't there? I think at the bank, there's a bank as well. So we'll get some information on that. But please think about the family and drop off some gift cards, monetary donations for Dr. Jen Sutherland at the office there, and try to help them begin as they have a long recovery process there. I guess there were one or more cats that they can't find. They don't know if they ran out or if they got trapped. But we're just thankful that no one was hurt. And I mean, you know, gosh almighty, these things can be disastrous. I mean, losing property is bad enough, but at least no one was injured that we know of. I mean, I don't know. Started in the garage, we hear, huh?
I think that's what the news was reporting. But yeah, I mean, you just think of, I mean, certainly gift cards and monetary donations are welcome. And again, you can drop those at Compass Chiropractic. But I think like about all my family photo, I'm going to get emotional talking about it. All the things that you keep in your home that aren't replaceable, right? That you're dealing with having lost. So certainly thinking about them as they try to put the pieces back together.
You hear a lot about fires in the wintertime, and I don't know whether it's the dry conditions. Well, not right now, but I mean, you hear a lot about that, and you just...
People start up, you know, you get the first few cold days, and instead of firing up the furnace, they may light up the wood stove or the fireplace or something. You never know in that regard.
It was a good reminder to me because I had on my list last time we talked to Gail Blumenkamp. He reminded us, hey, and this was about a different incident, and we don't know the details of this most recent fire, but he said, hey, just a reminder, like your smoke detectors actually expire, and so do your carbon monoxide detectors. So pull those things down and check the dates. And that'd been on my list for a while. And sure enough, yesterday I ordered a whole bunch of new smoke detectors because I checked the dates on mine, and they were old. And I think they still work because I have been known to smoke up the kitchen, but I think that was a good reminder from him that's kind of been on my list that I've let linger. Yeah. And as we enter the winter season, was a good reminder for our family to try to make sure we're doing what we can.
And a shout out for the firefighters who fought for 4 hours, but apparently it was just a total loss, and the pictures are just devastating. It's just so sad. So you can drop donations off at First Midwest Bank at 1411 Grindstone Plaza, or at the office there at Compass Chiropractic and Wellness over there on Forum Boulevard. The Savor Columbia, a publication that makes Columbia food and drink guides, wrote on Facebook, it is collecting gift cards from local restaurant partners for the family. So if you're out with family, maybe enjoying a little holiday, maybe catch a movie on Friday and a dinner or something, why not buy a gift card? And, I imagine they'll have a way to route that to the proper spot so the family can do that. We had a similar incident in our neighborhood just a few years ago. It was an emergency room doc. I don't know what her husband did. Total loss. And all I see there now when I run or walk by there is just an Airstream trailer. And I don't know whether they're contemplating whether to rebuild or whatever, working or not. But wow, in this time of Thanksgiving, you thank your stars for the fact that these kind of things don't happen to you, but maybe
But we also thank our stars for living in a super generous community, and the outpouring of love and support from all of our bank partners to other businesses to the restaurants to the community members I've seen on Facebook has been incredible.
And let's hope that the insurance company doesn't make it tough for these people to replace their home. You hear about that sometimes. So let's hope that maybe the insurance company will not play the Grinch for this family and they can restore their life. Of course, like you say, you lose things that they're precious, that they're irreplaceable, and but
it's tough.
When you get to the promised land, you're going to have to ask that question: why? Right? Why? It's an interesting question. I think this is a time when people of faith often scratch their head and say, "Well, God knows what He's doing." Sometimes we're a little flummoxed, but God knows what He's doing. It's hard to keep the faith when you see these kind of things. Come on, be honest. John, I saw the eye roll.
Yeah, don't blame God.
I know, I'm not blaming God, but God has a purpose, right? But it is these times that test our faith, and I think this is times when people of faith can be consoling and can, in a way, renew their faith through devastating incidents like this. And you're gonna see that come out in all of the giving that happens for this family. I wonder if there'll be like a GoFundMe kind of a. Or,
there
you know
is,
I mean?
yeah.
Is
if
there
you get
already,
online, you can.
Is there already a
different
site?
things?
I
I
hope
believe.
so.
In other news, there's a baby elephant coming to the National Zoo. Oh. The first ever elephant. Well, okay, maybe the second, but the first elephant pregnancy in 25 years. Remember when everyone was on that pregnant giraffe watch? Now apparently
and
everyone.
The hippo.
Now apparently everyone in DC is on baby elephant watch.
Remember, it was all for a while. It was the pandas from China, and now it's the elephant.
Mm-hmm.
So they're having a trunk show at the National Zoo.
Apparently,
yeah, apparently. Drake, you caught some during the break or right before the break. In fact, as we were talking with Dave Agan, who gave a really, if you didn't even have a chance to hear that, catch it on the podcast later. We did an interview with Dave Agan, who's a retired military captain who's for 4 years been training Ukrainian forces over there. I mean, living in Ukraine, heading back there in mid-December or early December. And boy, he gave us a close and personal look at the war over there, the resolve of the Ukrainian people, the fact that what we're hearing about the Russians are winning and it's a war of attrition and the Ukrainians are running out of steam. He painted an entirely 180-degree different picture. So catch that account on the podcast later. Drake, there was some breaking news about Ukraine.
Yeah, they have agreed to the peace deal.
Wonder which peace deal it is. That's something we're going to have to sort out. We'll know more by tomorrow.
Probably the newest one.
Yeah, remember earlier, Stephanie, you talked about how the one that we were that Rubio was talking about yesterday apparently was out and a new one was in, and we don't know which.
We had like a 28-point peace deal over the weekend, and then I think yesterday they said it was 18 points, and now we're hearing Ukraine has agreed, although we're not hearing to what and whether Russia had agreed. Although if it's a pared back version of what we had this weekend and everyone said it was super pro-Russia, is there a reason for Russia not to agree?
Yeah. I wonder if it's the same thing. Well, we'll have more on that tomorrow on the program. We'll also be talking with a gentleman who wrote a book about, I guess, priorities and money and a good life and where the two may or may not intersect.
That's right. Greg Logston will join us. He is here in Columbia. Mm-hmm. Many people associate him with the coaching world. He's an infamous coach. I think does a lot of work with the girls basketball, the Phenom. But he wrote a book called It Ain't About the Money. Let me get the title right here as my computer loads. It Ain't About the Money, A Coach's Quest for Purpose, Impact, and Creating a Life That Matters. So. And
we'll also be talking about the economy and sort of maybe asking Patrice Onwuka, who is with Independent Women's Forum. We talk with her a lot about matters about family and economy. She's the head of that Center for Economic Opportunity there. About what the upcoming season and the upcoming economy may look like. Tea leaf reading with her, and we talked about in your report on the morning report how it's going to be difficult to do much forecasting. The Feds aren't going to have much information. The latest jobs report looking much better than expected, with jobs in the 119,000 range, as opposed to 50,000 when the September numbers finally came out here in November. But so we'll talk to her at 8:08. And, of course, it'll be a mostly feel-good day. Now, I don't know. We'll have to see if we're feeling good about that Ukrainian deal. Based on what Dave said, maybe it sounds like they don't need to capitulate. That they do have a leg to stand on, or thousands and thousands of legs to stand on with the right support. That was interesting.
Yeah, it was a different take, wasn't it?
Totally different. Totally different. Speaking of basketball and area basketball, did you see that Sophie Cunningham has a little bit of beef with Michael Porter? Michael Porter Jr. He apparently made some pretty denigrating comments about women's basketball, professional basketball. He said that
I thought she agreed with him.
Huh?
Yeah, she agreed with him.
Oh, she agreed with him. Oh,
yeah.
He believed a team of elite 8th grade boys could beat the WNBA stars. Oh, yeah. I don't know. He specifically cited scrimmaging against Cunningham's University of Missouri team when he was in the 7th or 8th grade going crazy.
And what'd she say? She said, he's probably right. Isn't that what she said?
This is my personal opinion, but if you're a professional football player, basketball player, really any sport, if you're in that elite level group, yeah, you should be able to beat the girls. I'm not surprised. I just don't get why it's continuing to get brought up.
Boy, I don't know if I'd want to get on the hardwood with the WNBA team.
No,
I would.
No, you wouldn't. But having watched a lot of 8th grade basketball lately, I mean, my son's on the team. He's taller than me, and he's, I think, the shortest person on the court. So these 8th graders are, 8th grade boys are big. So you think, I mean.
She said she's not trying to disrespect her fellow female hoopers, just stating what she considers reality. Just not a fair matchup when you put guys' biological differences, taller, bigger,
I think it's a really good reason why we shouldn't have guys playing girls' sports, because there are these differences, and failing to recognize them leads us to the crazy world we've been in the last several years.
But Drake thinks that the girls' basketball players have several advantages over the guys, right, Drake?
Absolutely.
There you go.
just not on payday.
Oh, it's not about putting the biscuit in the basket. No, that's
it's about
hockey.
having fun.
All right, we come up. Let's wrap it up with some leftovers. See you in a few.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
So it's Wake Up Missouri on 2 days now before the big turkey day. Everyone's feeling pretty good. And it's time for leftovers before we even eat the big bird.
A few state-related notes. Representative Justin Sparks, who you might be familiar with the Freedom Caucus, he ran against John Patterson for Speaker, has officially resigned his position in the State House as of Monday to take a job in the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. We talked a little bit about the MTG resignation upcoming, but we're also seeing some resignations here more locally. We are also seeing a court battle, lots of court battles actually play out in Cole County these days. Judge Brian Stumpy yesterday, the trial kicked off over private school vouchers. The Missouri NEA, National Education Association, is challenging that $50 million appropriation to Mo scholars, and the trial started yesterday. I believe it continues today. It'll be some time before we get a decision, but the fate of that program is in the hands of a Cole County judge.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that all works. I mean, there's so many challenges to things that are really sort of pivotal, right? I mean,
yeah, there's no more important court than the Cole County Court, because everything basically dealing with the government should or does go through there. So they've got a lot of important cases happening right now.
There's really been a lot of challenges across the country to the redistricting thing too. You know, I mean, the Texas decision, where I guess the most recent decision sort of
put the new map back in
legitimizes it, right? Says
Correct.
It's okay
Temporarily, yes.
But that's a temporary deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yes, there are a lot of redistricting court battles playing out currently in Missouri.
All right, we'll have to see where that all goes. John, what do you have?
Well, a story we reported on, the man accused of running over and killing that teen on an electric scooter on Halloween night has now been indicted by the Cole County grand jury. Gervonta Warmack charged with hitting 15-year-old Anthony Reyes as he crossed Highway 50 near Capitol Mall Halloween evening, and Warmack is accused of driving under the influence, presumably of marijuana, and faces involuntary manslaughter charges.
Oh, man. Wow. Drake, what do you have?
All right. This has been a story that's been a big deal. Virginia high school football coach goes missing, and they're undefeated. They're going to be playing, but there's a manhunt in Virginia for this guy. So let's hope that he's okay and he's just going out to, see his mistress and not, in an accident or something.
Well, I heard that there was a that someone in the school had been put on administrative leave. Not that they were necessarily, I mean, the school did sort of one of those waffling things, but it sounded like maybe they're looking at someone, a person of interest, kind of an angle on that for someone that works at the school about this. The guy just disappeared on Friday, right? Wasn't that ahead of a district championship or such?
Yeah, they last saw him end of last week.
Yeah,
Thursday, I think.
My gosh, your team's doing great. You're undefeated. Disappear. I don't know. You think some other opponent was that butthurt over things? I don't know. And then there's this. I didn't even catch this on Sunday. We didn't talk about it yesterday, but I caught this. Boy, this is a little bit of a appetizer ahead of Feel Good Wednesday, because we're not going to be here Friday for you. But there'll be some great programming. So we'll do Feel Good Wednesday tomorrow. You want to do some winners and losers then too, Stephanie?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll do that. Take a look at this. This is from the Los Angeles Rams versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday.
The outside of one of the great receivers in the game and couldn't do it. That time comes back and makes a play.
First year out of Missouri, kicked in the UFL last year. He's kicked only extra points so far. Joshua Carty struggled with some misses early on. He's still on the roster. But Mevis has the job. His first NFL field goal attempt is perfect. 5'11", 243. His nickname from his Missouri days is the Thicker Kicker. All you want is a kicker that makes them.
So, Mevis gets his first NFL field goal.
For the traitors, they left us.
Pretty cool, huh? You gotta love it.
40 and a 52-yard.
Yeah, the Thicker Kicker. All right, well, it's good to see some Mizzou alum doing great in the NFL. We'll see you tomorrow on Wake Up Missouri. I hope you'll join us, whether you're traveling or staying home.
Bye.